Slating is an absolutely crucial thing for you to understand not only what it is, but how to do it. Because I've seen many actors lose parts in my auditions because of a bad slate. And let me explain that. So first of all, in the film industry, there are actually 3 different definitions of the word slate. And the one that you may be more familiar with is this image, which is a film slate, which you have seen many times, and a lot of people call it the clapper. And it's to keep track of what scene is being shot, what take it is of that scene, and it also helps sync the audio. So that's one definition of slate. Another definition of slate is producers may say that they are putting together the funding for 8 films, and those 8 films that they are putting together the funding for is their slate. So they're doing a slate of 8 films. One is a horror film, one's a love story, whatever. It's a slate of films. The third definition of slate is what I want to talk to you about right now. And that is when you do an on-camera audition, you will need to do your own slate. And it is a verbal cue that you are starting the audition. It serves exactly the same purpose as a regular slate that you see when they do clap it in front of the actor. But instead of it being a physical slate, you are just stating your name and sometimes the role that you're reading for, sometimes the agency that you are with. It kind of depends, and you may want to ask the casting director exactly what they want with the slate. So here are a few tips. Keep in mind that most of the time, the person running the camera at an audition, it will probably be a casting assistant. So it doesn't mean that they're savvy at all with the camera. You can imagine there are times when I have run the casting camera, and I'm the least technical person on the face of the earth. So many times, and nobody's trying to do you harm, but just because they don't know, they will literally have their finger on the button for the camera and they kind of push on, but not really yet, and they cue you to go. If you just start with your name and go on from there, a lot of times when I watch the tape back or the director watches the tape back, we don't know what your name is because all we hear is the last syllable of your name. And it can be incredibly frustrating because sometimes we see your audition and we're thinking, oh, this is exactly who we want. We want to bring them in for a callback. And yet we can't because we literally don't know who you are because we did not hear your name at the beginning of the slate. So my tip on how to work through this is when you get that cue from the camera person, instead of saying, my name is so-and-so, and then go on to your agency, whatever role you're doing, I just recommend making it pleasant anyway, which is important, and saying, good afternoon, good morning, I'm with such and such agency, and my name is. Because ultimately, if we know what your name is, we can find out what your agency is. So work it backwards so that we will never, ever not hear what your name is. When you slate, the one thing to never, ever, ever do, ever, is to state your age. And I'll explain why. Let's say that we put you on tape and the director is looking for somebody who's 31 and they are watching you, they see you come on camera, they see your image, they go, this is exactly what I'm looking for. She's perfect. This is wonderful. And you slate and you say, my name is so-and-so and I'm 36 years old. Well, you haven't aged 5 years since the time that your auditions start, but you just aged 5 years in the director's mind because they perceived you as being 31. Had you just not said how old you were, they would have perceived you as being 31 for the rest of the audition. But now that you said you were 36, you have completely changed the course. We cannot ask you anyway how old you are. What we can ask, this is not a film industry thing, this is a standard federal thing, is we can ask you if you are under 18. If you are under 18, then we can ask you what your date of birth is because it will affect how many hours we can use you on the set. If you are over 18, we cannot ask you how old you are. I can't really tell you how to handle that if a casting director doesn't know that and asks you. What you may want to say is, I can play, and then give a realistic range of the ages that you can play. So if you're 50, don't say I can play 20 to 80, because that's probably not realistic. But as long as you're being realistic, it's a good thing. Just remember that the slate is very important. And another important thing about the slate as well is that it tells us whether or not you actually know what you're doing as an actor. Have you trained? I mean, kudos for taking this class, because now you know what a slate is. Because it's quite embarrassing for everybody when we say, okay, before you start the scene, we're going to have you slate. And you see this deer and headlights look, and they say, excuse me, we need you to slate. Slate? I don't know what that means. Okay, just when we say rolling, say your name and say your agency. So you will, if it's ever for camera, you will definitely need to slate. So remember to do it in a friendly way, because you know how you can't make a first impression twice. Well, the way you greet the people watching the tape is through your slate. So be friendly, be warm, and give just the information that's needed.